All right, Rand, one to go. Peter Woods, Clemson, with a long line of other Clemson players that we've talked up so far through the draft process, and we still have a handful of guys to go on the defensive side of the ball in summer scouting here. But he's number one on our list. He's one of my favorite players in this draft class. He isn't my number one overall player. That's his teammate. We'll get to that at some point in the coming weeks. He's only 20 years old, so a lot of these guys we talked about have been 22 plus, unofficially 6'3", 315. And I went back and watched him again yesterday because I hadn't seen him since back in mid-May. And I forgot how much they lined him up everywhere. And by everywhere, I mean he can line up in the A gap. He can line up in the G gap. Like he's almost playing, like he's playing in the slot. They had him so wide sometimes. But that's the versatility you were talking about earlier when you have someone that doesn't weigh 345 pounds. And they even used him fourth down as a blocking fullback, sort of getting to your point about Byron Murphy back in the day at Texas. So tell me what you like about Peter Woods, because I think you're more excited about him than his teammate, the edge rusher, right?
Yeah, I am. And it's for, part of it's because one of those things you mentioned in terms of him being 20 years old and being as dominant as he is. I think he is a 3-down starting defensive tackle. Like you mentioned, he can align from the 0 out to the 9. The earlier games you watched, he was actually playing outside backer, standing up in a 2-point stance, and actually looked more natural rushing off the edge than he did inside. And so that's something I've earmarked in my notes, just something to go back and kind of study his history to see if he was potentially a high school defensive end that has made the switch. But this guy, he sets physical edges. He has the ability to recreate the line of scrimmage. He's just a player that can just be dominant whenever he wants to be. He has quickness, he has twitch, he has power that he uses all to help him make plays. Now, the one thing, and again, this is him being young, is him guessing where the ball is going. There are times where he's two-gapping. He has the guy posted. He has the lockout, the extension. He's controlling it with his grip strength, but then he'll get caught on the wrong side of the ball, just guessing wrong. And so, I think this is a guy that he was absolutely fun to watch, probably one of my favorite guys to watch so far. I thought his body type and his play reminded me of Cam Hayward. If you go back and you look at it, neither guy really had, to date, Peter Woods doesn't have, quote-unquote, pass rush sack production, but neither did Cam coming out of Ohio State all those years ago. But then he became a really good pass rusher in the NFL, has recorded, several double-digit sack seasons. So reminded me a lot of that. But I think, again, we're talking about a 20-year-old kid who's still growing into his grown man body and still has a lot more to develop there. So he's going to be another one of the greats in the long line of Clemson defensive linemen to come out of there.
Yeah, and Cam lines up just about everywhere. He doesn't line up in 7 technique very often, just off the top of my head. Usually he's, 4-eye or inside, but he's drafted first overall, their first round pick in 2011, I believe. So he's done it for a long time at a high level. I have him as a top 15 pick. You okay with that?
Yeah, I think he'll go higher, personally. Yeah. Because again, if we're talking, if you're talking Mason Graham and these guys that went in the top 15, last year, I think Peter Woods would get drafted over Kenneth Grant.
Kenneth Grant
really
went 13th. And Walter Nolan was 16th.
And I'm not of this. I really liked Mason Graham, and I liked him a lot, but I've also felt like he got bumped up because people felt they missed on Braden Fisk, who his game was very comparable to, and I felt like Fisk went in a second. People felt like they missed on him, so I think that kind of bumped, Mason Graham up some because, let's think about it. Mason Graham was also an under 300-pound guy. I don't know if he was 305. And we're talking about a 315-pound guy that's just as athletic, just as quick, and more versatile in terms of his alignment.
Yeah, when we saw Mason Graham in person at the Combine, he wasn't as intimidating, I'll say, as Kenneth Grant, for example, just in terms of the physical, getting off the bus part of it. Let me play a little game here. So he wears number 11 like Brian Brzee did, Peter Woods did, and then also the young man we talked about at the top, Christian Wilkins. Rank those 3 defensive linemen coming out of Clemson just on college tape in terms of them, how you like them as they make their way to the NFL.
I'd say Christian, Peter, Brzee right now.
Okay. And the interesting thing about Brian is that I didn't think he played that well his next to last year in college. He had come off an ACL injury. He had a devastating loss in his family. And I think once he got back to full health and had a little time to process his off-field stuff, he was balling out. I thought he had a really good rookie season for the Saints, and he's been a fun player to watch. So, and when you talk to him, he's a fantastic young man as well. All right. I'll tell you my comp real quick for Peter Woods, and you can laugh at it on the way out of here. And I had a hard time with this because just the versatility, because he lines up everywhere. Mo Wilkerson. No. All right, we got to know. He couldn't even formulate words, producer Sharon. He just shook his head no. All right. Well, we'll leave it at that. All right, guys, that's it. Defensive line in the books. Next week, we're going to take a little break and talk about some burning questions as we look ahead, and then we'll circle back to summer scouting. In the meantime, check out With the First Pick wherever you get your podcast. You can scan that QR code. Check out me and Ran talking summer scouting. As I mentioned, offense is already in the podcast feed, every single position. We will see you guys in the next one.